All right. So, good show, interesting show coming up today. vMix Fun Time Live show was last night. They teased us a little bit about vMix 29. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. And they didn't really say much about it, but they have updated one of their reference systems. So we're going to be talking about that on today's show. Stick around. Be right back in just, 12 minutes. Give a chance for everybody to gather. Don't go away. All right, let's see. Audio, check, check, check. Tell me if that's a little hot. Hello, Michael. Hello, Jesper. Hello, John. Good to see you. Glad to have you. Yes, indeedy. Let's do something up there so that we can look there. We used to have something there. Let's see if we can find it. Reload. There we go. Number 84, we can put up there. '84. Yeah, babes. Good job. All right. Did that mess everything up? No, it didn't. No, it didn't. This is good. Hello, Eric. All right. All right. So yeah, no, not going to go to IBC, Michael. Jeez, I wish I could. I wish I could. I've got actually an extended grandson babysitting time exactly during IBC. And the show notes. Yeah, I just had I got my 1900s and my 2000s mixed up. I think I went back and fixed it all, but apparently I missed one or two. It should say, if you refresh, it should say 29 now. Yeah. Golly gee. Jolly gee. And John and I had a good time together yesterday, remotely, trying to get his, what is that, John, a 5-year-old system updated so that we could do it, excuse me, There we go. So that we could get Windows 11 on his system. We have a couple of more hurdles to jump over. What we don't want to do is to do a complete reinstall. That's what we're avoiding if we all can. Right now we're running into a, what was it, John, that the motherboard needed to have that we couldn't find? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. And Eric, sorry I missed you in Pensacola last week, but another time. Michael, I am going to be in Portugal, but that's not close. I mean, it's closer than it is now, but that's not the same. Hello, Tim from Chesapeake, Virginia. Glad to have you. My brothers have a house just off the Chesapeake Bay in Matthews County. So that's, I guess, mid-bay, something like that. Yeah. So I turned on this in vMix. You know how you can go into settings and then go into alerts and turn on a display alert on the UI and multi-view when the volume drops below a certain decibel level for 5 seconds. So let's make it 6 decibels for 10 seconds. Do we have to restart in order to do that? No. Okay. All right. So that way it won't flash as much. But let's try it. We're going to count to 10 silently. And I get a low volume alert. Okay. So that's working. That's good. That's good. 10-second margin is good. I mean, really, it's just at the beginning of the show that I need it. I could turn it off now, but I wouldn't have it on for next time. So we'll go with that. Oh, okay. It's giving me a low volume even while I'm talking. So let's go the other direction with the decibels. There we go. Let's try that one. All righty. So Yadetta and Chris say hi. Hello, Chris. Hello, Yadetta. Hope I pronounced that right. All right. Michael says, from the vMix show, big size difference for the vMix AVI versus MOV. If the cameras are 4K 50p, how big will the end result be when processed in, example, Final Cut Pro? Difference in quality. I don't use the vMix AVI. I mean, at least not intentionally. Let me put it that way. I think the replay does an MP4. I'll have to go back and check that to see. Yeah. Don't know. Interesting. Let's see. What if I do this? Does it do anything? No. That's good. Okay. Great. Good. All right. Very good. How are we doing on time? All right, we've got just a couple minutes left. So I forgot the vMix Fun Time live show last night. Can you believe it? I just got caught up with my lovely spouse, and we had a delightful dinner together, the two of us, as we do most evenings. And she said to me maybe about 10 o'clock Central Time, so that's 11 o'clock Eastern, so that's 5 o'clock in the morning in Europe. She said, "Hey, what about the vMix Fun Time live show tonight? Weren't you going to watch it?" I'm like, "Ooh, I forgot." So I had to go back and just sort of skim through it. And wouldn't you know it, that I need to turn my phone down a little bit here. Can we do that? There's 2 new features. They're talking about vMix 29. Holy cow, vMix 29. Yeah, baby. I'm ready for vMix 29. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. And they also talked about, they weren't specific, but they did talk about updating the vMix reference systems. And we just talked about reference systems last week. Maybe there's a coincidence there. Maybe not. Don't know. Interesting, but interesting. So we'll talk a little bit more about that too. Yeah. And then what else? Well, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. As for the vMix AVI, the good news about that is that it really is light in terms of resources on your system. Let me just check something here real quickly. We're going to add an input. It's going to be an instant replay input. And we're going to select camera 1. Where's my camera 1? Right there. And we're going to browse and put it on the replay drive. So that's good. Can we just do that, or do we get an error message? Okay. So we get that. And let's see, let's go, can we do replay here and go live with it? Let's just go full screen. We'll go on. Yep. And we can save a 5-second clip right there. That's all I wanted to do. We can turn that off. We can turn that off. And I just want to go ahead and see what format it's stored that clip in. So here, replay, and it's AVI. No. Yes? It is AVI. Yep, that's me. All right, VLC couldn't decode the format vMX1. Huh, okay. I think that we can convert that with one of the vMix tools. So let's find that I'm on Windows 11, and I haven't really set up this machine the way I would set it up for a customer. Let's go to vMix video tools. And we have multiple tasks. We want to index MOV and MP4 recordings. No. We want to create an image sequence. No. We want to repair a vMix AVI file. No. Huh. Repairs a vMix AVI file that's not opening correctly in some editors. Well, let's just see what we get. I'm sorry you can't see this, but if it were really important, I promise you could see it. All right, so we got that one there. And we'll do that, and we'll convert it. And it's done. Now let's go back to that file and see if we can read it. This is repaired AVI. And VLC still couldn't decode it, but I'm wondering if I've got an old version of VLC. Close. Help, check for updates. Okay. A new version of VLC is available. I wonder if that's a vMix compatible version. Well, let's don't screw things up right now, shall we not? So, yeah. So we don't know. Could be a VLC problem. I don't really edit. I don't edit anything. Everything I do is live. Welcome, let's see, Jartukanan? Jartukanan? Boy, you'll have to help me on that one. I mostly do sports streams. I've got many sponsors on them. What kind of layouts you have? I have rolling text for some of the sponsors and then logos for whole screen and 6-second each logo. Well, if you're doing sports, are you doing replay? If you're doing replay, the replay stinger is a great place to put a sponsor, and you can change that throughout the course of a broadcast. Michael Quist, I'm still working on a formally one kind of play out of commercials where videos are in a list and the stream out shows common and a mini live signal. And okay, gotcha. So he's got a commercial going. Meanwhile, the content is going on somewhere else. Yeah, that's good. If you don't have natural breaks, like, Formula One, I guess even a pit stop, for a caution is still a great opportunity to have live show. All right, let's get this live show going, shall we? Sorry, we've been beating around the bush. All right, here we go. Yeah, baby. Thank you, Martin K. That was awesome. All right, so vMix Funtime Live Show was last night, and it's always fun to have those guys do their thing, and I missed it. How did I miss it? It's a long story. I have a lovely wife. We were just engaged in having dinner and talking, and I think we were watching a movie or something. I don't know. Anyway, but the vMix Funtime Live Show leaked a couple of what I would call small features. Well, one of them might be medium-ish. It's depending on what you need. Two features they mentioned in the show last night. If you missed the show, go back and watch it. If you watched the show, let's unpack this a little bit. Feature number one was something that they called search. But they also called it filter. Cool. They talked about it in terms of Zoom participants. If you have a ton of Zoom participants, 200 Zoom participants, how do you find the person you need to bring them up to the screen really quickly if you have to, kind of go through everybody? So they're going to be able to search it. They're going to be able to filter it. So what I'm thinking is if you type in Tom, you're going to get all of the Toms that are available. But what if you just type in T? Do you get all the persons whose first names start with a T on that list? That would be really helpful, I would think, because I can't imagine you're going to get that many cases where you've got, 10 people with the same first name. But you might have 10 people whose names start with a T, and I can choose my name, or, if I'm looking for Michael, I can choose a Michael out of all the M's pretty quickly. I know on UPS, when I'm shipping a UPS package, and I'm shipping it to somebody that I've shipped to before, when I go into my file, it's in alphabetical order by first name, just whatever name I typed in as the contact name. And it will allow me to put in an M for Michael, and then I can scan through all the Michaels. If I put an I next, I think it takes me to all the I's. So it's kind of like, it's helpful, but it's not as helpful as it could be in that sense. So it'll be interesting to see how vMix applies this search or filter function to this particular function in vMix of the Zoom participants, the Zoom call. And the second usage of the same feature, and it'll just be this would tag onto Zoom, onto the Zoom input. Using the same search or filter feature would tag on also onto a list input. So if you had a list of pictures or videos or whatever they might be, and if their titles were organized in a way, is it going to search the whole title for any instance of the word Tom? Or is it just going to look at the very first word in the title and look for Tom there? We'll have to see how they do that. Certainly anything is going to be helpful. If you're in a situation, what do they say? They had a client that, a vMix user that, or they didn't say this, but I'm assuming they did because they shared the story. They have a vMix user that uses 300 videos, or might use 300 videos in a sports broadcast. They were working as a subcontractor for ESPN. And so they wanted to be able to pull these up quickly. And if you got 300 of them, you've got to have some sort of sense of order of how it's going to be found. Now, my recollection of a list is that it will be in alphabetical order. Can I make a list file here real quickly and try it? Let's add input. I know I should have made it to where you could see it, but my bad. Let's see. Let's find a, where is list? Oh, there it is, right at the top. All right, list. So we're going to add to the list, we're going to add some video files. Do I have any video files? I don't really. Oh yeah, of course I do. I record this show every time. So we're going to go to the recordings for this show. We'll go to the 2023 recordings. And I've got, let's just take 3 of them. We'll take some of the smaller ones. Okay. And I've got those there, and I'm going to add them. I don't have the ability to put them in any kind of order as I put them in. So we're going to add them. I do notice as I put them in, they're in order of length. So September 7th is the shortest, September 13th is the next, and August 30th is the next. No, I take that back. They're in date order. They're in date order. They are not in, they're not in title order. Anyway, let's add that, and let's find that list down here at the bottom. Let's do a screen capture. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Hence the show. Let's see. Can we take display 2? Will that do what we need to do? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Here's display 2. And down here, I'm just going to put this in preview. That is the very first of the videos. So if we right click on that, we've got 3 of them here, and they are in order of, not size, they're in order of date, newest to oldest. We can edit them over here in the editor, and we can let's pop this out. There we go. We'll just make it full screen. I guess that's a little on a lot full screen. So we've got the ability to change their order. We can make that one go all the way to the last. Add, edit. What if we edit? Edit list item. So we're going to edit it. We're going to add a number to it. So we'll say capture 1. Okay. Yeah, that didn't do anything. It's still capture 1. Remove, shuffle, export. Okay. So they appear to come in some sort of date order. All right. So if we look now, yeah, that one is the next one that's queued up is September 27th. What about August 30th? There's August 30th. Oh my gosh, that was a bad hair day. And September 13th. There you go. Huh. Oh, I know what that was. That was glasses. That was back when I was wearing glasses. All right. So there we go. So we've got a list with 3 items in it. And so now we're going to have the ability. What if we had a list with 100 items in it? Let's redo this list. Change it. And we are going to add. And let's add a ton of them. We'll add a bunch of them. I don't know how many that is, but that's a bunch. Does it tell me somewhere? There they are, right there. That's a bunch of them. And so we are going to say, okay, so this is video, audio, and playlist M3U files. We'll say okay. So there we go. And now we'll come back into our list and we'll see, there we go. Is it in order by date? October, September, August, July, June, May. Oops, sorry. Yep, all the way to January. So we can select different ones. But if I had to go through and search the date for the one I wanted, I have no search capability. If I right-click that, it just goes away. So I'm assuming I'm going to have some sort of, or maybe that's it. Maybe when I right-click on the input, I'll have the ability to do a search up here, show hide playback speed, edit items, search. And then I can put this in. So currently it appears that it is in date order. But maybe we get the ability to put it in alpha order by name, or can we search within the name? That's going to be the good question. Can we search within the name? Very good. Welcome, Otis. Glad you're here. So we're searching in a list in vMix 29, and we're searching in a Zoom meeting. So for those of you that use Zoom meetings and you struggle with that, help is on the way. For those of you that use lists and are struggling with that, help is on the way. Yeah, and maybe there'll be some shortcuts that come along with that. The ability to search and based on a predetermined criteria. If I hit the A key here, it finds me all of the people whose first name begins with A. I don't know. Could be pretty interesting. Could be really helpful, especially if you've got a big work surface. I mean, a control surface with lots of keys. 26 alpha keys. You can get all those names. Or maybe you're looking for videos, and you've got promos, and you've got cameos, and you've got crashes and touchdowns, and whatever they are, you can make sure that those letters or words are in the name of the video. If it's searching in the full name, then it would appear on your list, and you could pop it out pretty quickly. Just a thought. I'm not a TD. If TDs, let's find out. I wonder if vMix has taken. Let's get rid of this for a second, and let's go to vMix. I'm going to bring you in just a second. Let me just get this set up first. There we go. All right. So here's desktop capture. We're going to go into the forums. We're going to go into the feature requests, And oh, here's somebody that says vMix 2829 ideas. Let's see if anybody has, well, let's do a search. Let's do a search for search and see what it says. Okay, we don't want all forums. We just want the feature request forum. And let's get 50 results a page. And we're searching for search. 3 months ago, add new replay shortcuts. Add new replay shortcuts. Strolling ticker from Excel. 5 months ago, search feature for input select. It would be cool if you could add a search feature to the NDI desktop capture on the input screen when adding or changing an input. Okay, so this is NDI feeds. So that's somebody that wants that for NDI. Sending inputs, milliseconds, inputs, feature request. 6 months ago, feature requests, folders and shortcuts. So 8 months ago, changing paths. 10 months ago, identifying shortcuts by a short key. 10 months ago, hardware video decoding. And a year ago. Okay, so what we don't see in there is a discussion on a search feature. Even though, let's see, let's go back. Even though we see here 2829 ideas that was started a year ago, and somebody, and it's got 3 pages. So let's see, can we search within this one? A year ago. Let's go to the end and see if anybody's talking about this recently. Key mask. Nah, it doesn't appear that there's anything there. I'll go back and look, and you should too. You should know about the feature request section. It's a great place to have, not just the feature section, but the forum. It's a great place just to have a great discussion. Of course, it's all text-based, but you can share a video or a graphic if you want, or link to something else. I've used it a lot over the years. It kind of ebbs and flows depending on what the needs are. But there we go. Hey, Gunnar, glad you're here. So we were talking about vMix adding a search function or a filter function to the Zoom call meeting, the Zoom meetings, and or the list function to be able to call up one of 200 possible participants in Zoom or files in the list. And that's going to be helpful. That's going to be helpful. And depending on how it's implemented, that's the key. vMix, are you listening? There we go. How are you going to implement it? Are you going to get some feedback for some folks? Maybe you already have. Maybe you already have, and you're not sharing everything yet. I don't blame you. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting with the vMix A Fun Time live show, talking about vMix 29, there we go, is, and I've wanted to do this for years, but I've never thought about asking for it, but I've wanted to do it, is for replay folks to be able to assign a camera to a drive. Now, what they said last night was, camera 1 to drive B, camera 1 to one drive, camera 2 to another drive, camera 3 to another drive. These would be SSDs, M.2 SSDs, I would expect, attached to the motherboard. Although, vMix used to run vMix replay on hard drives. So there might be some situations where you could do a hard drive or multiple hard drives, although maybe not. I didn't say that. I take it back. But there might be situations where you can add a PCIe card that houses multiple M.2 drives. I've got one of those here. I think it'll take 4 different drives. We'd have to test and see if that's going to, if that would be fast enough. And it depends on what's on your PCIe bus. You know, if you've got 4, let's say you've got 8 cameras coming in and you want, well, you're not going to do 8 drives. You might do 2 cameras per drive for 4 drives. And it really depends on the card's sustained write speed. That's the keyword that Heath mentioned, sustained write speed, the ability of the card to continually write without taking a breath, without pausing for emphasis, as it were. But that would definitely, I think it would definitely improve the quality of the replay. It also would open the door to a more useful 4K 60 replay. I mean, you think 1080p 30 is a lot of data. 1080p 60 is twice as much data. 4K 60 would be 4 times as much data as that, so 8 times as much data as 1080p 30. Yeah. And if it's writing in an AVI file, that's going to be a huge file. Oh my gosh. I guess it doesn't matter to the computer, speed-wise, response-wise, whether you've got a 1 terabyte drive or an 8 terabyte SSD. Do they make it? Do they make M.2s that big? We'll have to check and see. Let's check real quickly. Shall we do that? Let's do that. I'm just going to look on Amazon and say I want a 10 terabyte M.2. Do I have such a thing? There's a 4. There's another 4. There's an 8, but that's a remote drive. There's an 8, and that's a built-in drive. That's a, what is it? It doesn't say, but it's cheaper than that one, so it can't be bigger. 4 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 8 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4, 8, 2, 8, 4, 2, 2, 4. Okay, so there we go. So as far as Amazon is concerned, we can do with an 8 terabyte. We'd have to do some calculations to see how much video that would hold. And of course, vMix Replay has got the 3 different settings for replay that allows you to choose. Let's see, where are we? Do we have it here? Yeah, let's go here. We go here. Here's our replay down here. We're going to go there. And so we've got the recording format. This is 5994p. We've got high quality, standard quality, and low quality. So right now I've got a 4K camera, but it's not coming in at 4K. So we really can't tell. But if I dropped it down to light quality, it doesn't change anything, does it? High quality. Oh yeah, there we go. So we got 49 minutes for 4 cameras at 288 megabits per second. Standard quality, or SQ, would be, what is that? That's almost double the space. And light quality would be, let's see, 2 hours is 120 minutes, 147 minutes. So that would almost be 4 times as much space for 4 cameras. Yeah, we just have to go in. We'd have to go in and do the math. We'd have to go do the math. Can't do that math in my head these days anymore. Yeah, Gunnar says there are a lot of fake SSDs on Amazon. Fortunately, I haven't gotten any of them. But we'd have, I mean, obviously we'd have to try it out. Michael says, do we have motherboards that support 4, 5, 6, 10 NVMe's as different drives? I've got a motherboard. I think I have a motherboard. It'll support 5. Let me see. One, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's 4. That's an Asus ProArt Z890 Creator, I think. Hang on a second. No, excuse me, that was a Z790 Creator. Let's look. I've got a Z890 here in the storage room. Actually, I've got 2 different ones, 2 different kinds. Let's see which one of these is the better one with more SSDs. We could look this up, but it's sometimes more fun just to have the boxes. All right, so this one is the Asus Prime Z890P Wi-Fi motherboard, and it says that it can take 1, 2, 3, 4 NVMe's, M.2s. And that's the board no, that wasn't the board I was just looking at. And this is the Asus Z890 Creator Wi-Fi, which is one of the ones that vMix suggests, and it will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it does say that it shares bandwidth, but it also has Thunderbolt. So you could possibly hang a Thunderbolt enclosure off the side to get some more storage. Just some thoughts. Anyway, it's going to be fun to explore this new feature when it comes about and see what works and what doesn't work. And my guess would be that based on the new feature, vMix would change their reference system, at least, probably, well, what are the reference systems? Let's see, let's go to the reference systems here. And we've got, this is the Topaz, that's the 8 camera. The Ruby has 4 camera, and the Obtanium has 8 camera. So those 3 might get changed, their specs might get changed based on this new ability to have multiple drives. It might allow for, well, it can't allow for any more cameras. It's either 4, 8, or 8, but it might allow for higher resolution. Or if we can ever get some cameras out there that are, in our price range, not in the professional write a check for whatever they want price range, but if we can get some 120 frame a second or 240 frame a second, which vMix will handle, if we can get a real high frame rate camera and dedicate a drive just to that camera, that may be a way to kind of help push the envelope a little bit more. Yep. Eric says he can support 3 NVMe's on his board. Yeah, and he also said that separate drives could open the door for more than 2 2K cameras. Yeah, and then we get into the balancing act, between how fast can you record and how fast can you process and all that kind of stuff. And then we just keep pushing. Boy, this is fun. You remember about, golly, I don't know, 5 years ago, I did a Streaming Idiot show, proclaiming this as the golden age of live streaming. And in some ways it was the beginning of the golden age of live streaming. And I think we're still in the golden age of live streaming. And within the vMix environment, within the vMix ecosystem, I think we're still in the golden days of live streaming, where vMix is becoming more and more powerful, covering more and more bases, and allowing, who was I talking to yesterday or the day before that said, oh, I know who it was. It was Kenny. Kenny, are you watching today? And he said, you know, I want a 53-foot production truck in a box that you build me, Tom Sinclair. And, you know, we're getting bigger and bigger and closer to those kind of goals. So anyway, so let's, I know we're over time, but I want to go back and do this because last week we talked about the vMix reference systems. And since last week, they have updated this reference system. Last week, this reference system, let's go down to it, had a core, an Intel i9. I think it was a 14900K or KF or something like that as its main processor. And it had a different motherboard as its main motherboard. Now, of course, you know, this little guy right here, the Ultra 9 280K, is a different, what is it a different? It has a different pin count. And so the footprint, the mount is different than for example, in the Z790 that I just showed you. That was the old 1700 pin count. This guy is the new 1851 pin count. So yeah, so you got to be careful with balancing your CPUs and your motherboards, because even though they have similar function, they don't always work together. Anyway, I'm excited about this. It's really neat to have vMix update that. I don't know that their RAM updated. I think it was 64 before. It is interesting to note that the motherboard in the Z890 Creator Wi-Fi will only hold one capture card. Now it can be an eight camera capture card, 8 cameras HD, with the Decklink Quad 2, or it can be 4 ports of 4K. So, yeah, not. We will build this system, but we will take some liberties, and we're not going to use this case. We have a case that's being made for us that I think is a better fit, but we will use exactly that. We will use exactly that. We might fudge around with this one and have a drive for the operating system and software that's 250 gigs or something like that, and maybe now with the not now, but when the vMix 29 comes out with the feature of being able to assign different cameras to different drives, obviously we would have more than one drive in that, and a 1,000-watt power supply, of course, in Windows 11, which seems to be working great. I am now an official fan of Windows 11. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's go to post-show. Shall we be right back? We shall. Well, catching up on the chat, not going to IBC. I do mean vMix 29. I struggled to go back and make edits to everything I published that said vMix 19. John. Actually, John knows about hot because he is in the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. Let's see what else we got here. Always nice to have folks watching. Yeah. And yes, glad to have Tim. Don't have the answer to that question. Will be interesting. Glad you're doing sports streaming. That's great. That's great. You ought to look at some of Michael's stuff for sure. There you go. You're a replay guy. You know the pain that you could get when you can't get your replays to play smoothly. Always great to have Otis here. I agree, Eric. This could be one of those things that moves a lot of sports productions to a legitimate 4K field. Just saying, could be me selling them. Yes, not sure, not sure. I am an official fan of Windows 11. Yes. I mean, vMix runs well on it. That's the biggest difference for me. Yeah, it takes a while to get in. You know, the first thing I do when I install it, I move the start button over here where it belongs, because otherwise I'm confused about where things are. You know, it's the old muscle memory kind of thing. But yeah, it's safe. And the best bet, Tim, I think, is to do the update just through Windows Update and see if you can take Windows 11 there. Obviously, back up everything you can. It's the prudent thing to do. I never do that, but it's the prudent. But just because I don't do it, I'm an idiot. You should do it because you're not an idiot. If you're an idiot, don't worry about backing up anything. If you have to totally reinstall Windows 11, that's a different ballgame altogether. You're just starting from scratch. We did that with a 10-year-old motherboard, 10-year-old processor here 10 weeks ago, something like that. And it installed just fine. Didn't care about TPM and CPM and CPU and GPU and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It just installed. It was not picky. John and I are struggling to get one of the systems I built him probably 5 years ago updated to Windows 11 without starting from scratch. We're running into a little bugaboo with the motherboard and getting the BIOS set just right. Yeah. He's got the backups. He's not an idiot. Is it $60 to upgrade from vMix 26 to 28? Julie, technically vMix calls that an update. So you're not actually moving higher in the vMix hierarchy of HD, 4K, Pro, that kind of thing. But rather, you are just simply taking whatever level you are and you're updating it to today's version, which in this case is 28. So yes, $60. And it doesn't change your license key. You keep the same license key. And in fact, it's the kind of thing, in fact, I did it yesterday. I think John and I did it on one of his systems. No, Kenny and I did it 2 days ago on one of his systems where he was running, I think he was running 26, maybe 25, maybe even 24. Now, I don't know. Anyway, whatever it was, we updated him to 28. and then downloaded 28. And by the time we did the update, it had already gone through the system. And so when we put in his license key in, we didn't even have to put it in his license key. It just, it found the license key. It had all his settings. You know, if you didn't know that it said 28 in the top left-hand corner, you wouldn't have really known the difference, I don't think. I mean, I would, of course, but most people would. Okay. Words of wisdom from Michael Quest. Windows 11 Pro on 4 PCs in production. No problems on show, off show. Small problems in between with updates. Really? How did you notice the problems and what were they? I mean, I want to know for my sake and for everybody else's sake. But have I had problems with Windows 11? I don't think so. One of the things that I made sure I did before I updated to Windows 11 was I went to the, I'm using an Asus Prime A Z590 motherboard and a i9 10900 ZQ chip or something like that. And I went in and made sure that the BIOS was up to date. And actually had to update. I didn't have to update, but I did update the BIOS in my system. And I can see, you know, if you go to start and if you just type in SYS, you can get the system SYS. Why is it only giving me that? There we go, system information. And system information tells me that I have a BIOS of 2302, which is dated November 12th, my birthday, 2024. So let me see what the latest, greatest on that one is. I'll bring you guys along for the ride on this. Let's go here, and we're just going to put in Asus Z590 Prime A. There we go. We'll come down here to motherboards, and then we're going to go to support. We're going to go to drivers and tools, and we're going to go to firmware, and we're going to see that version 2302. Is that the one I said I had? I don't think so. Maybe I need an update here. SYSTEM system information is 2302. Yeah, 2302. So this gives a date of January 3rd, 2025. But on my system, it calls it November 12th, 2024. Yeah, so I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to the dates. This is 2203, and this is 2302. So there you go. And you can generally see, you know, some instructions on what you need to do before you do that. And in some cases, it will actually add features. And there's generally a patch on some boards to prevent the problem that they were having with the Intel. I think it was the 12,000s and the 13,000s. There were some of those chips that were just going bad. I mean, we've had a couple of customers that we had to replace those for because they just went down the tubes, as they say. It wasn't a good thing. So Michael says drivers primarily, attached stuff not working, one single blue screen. Ooh, worked after 4 reboots. Yeah, that's the other thing. Let me go back to this list for just a second. Drivers and tools. This again, this is the motherboard that I've got right here that I'm working on, and it has Windows 11 and Windows 10 drivers. So I want to go back if I'm updating to Windows 11. Once I've done 11, I want to go back in and reinstall all these drivers. Now, one of the things about this list that's a little tricky, and we'll use the chipset one as an example. And this says, this was dated 10/16/24, so September 16th, 2024, and it's the Intel Management Engine, ME. Well, let's look at the downloads list here, and we can see there's also a chipset driver. What else is there here? A serial I/O, a GNA scoring accelerator driver. So there are in this list, and let's collapse the list again. We can't collapse it. Anyway, in this list of chipset drivers, you can't just take whatever the first one is. There may be, well, let's look at the LAN and see. Yeah, there are only 3, and they're all the same function. They're just updated versions. But in this case, in the chipset, you may have more than one driver that you need. And if you're not sure, compare them. Here we've got, they don't always get the types, the titles the same. Here we have Intel ME Consumer. Down here we've got Intel Management Engine, ME Interface. Well, it's version 2306, and this is version 2334. So we would assume that these are the same function. Obviously not the same driver, but it's an updated version of the driver. And then here we've got 2425, which is an even more updated of the driver. So this one, and this one are essentially the same driver, different versions. This is a separate driver altogether. So you want to make sure you get all your drivers. That's a 3rd type. That's a 4th type. Yeah, you want to make sure you get all your drivers. And another easy way to tell, let's see, can I do that here? Let's see, do we have a screen capture? Yeah, we've got a screen capture here. We're going to go to screen cap, and we are going to go down here to my start button. Notice it's in the left-hand corner. I'm going to go to Device Manager, and here in the Device Manager, we've got one right here. We've got a list, but I've got one here called an IAP interface that doesn't have a driver for it. Let's look at the properties. The drivers for this device are not installed. There are no compatible drivers for this device. Well, that may or may not be true. And we'll try update driver. Search for drivers, couldn't find any drivers. Search for drivers on Windows Update, nah. So what I'll do is I'll go back to where we were just a second ago, right here. I'll go back here and go through all my drivers again. Maybe something has changed. I don't think I've got anything that's not identifiable in my system. But whatever it is, again, that's, go back here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Device Manager, and I'm going to look through here. And a lot of times, if you are installing a new motherboard, or if you are updating something, there might be several of these lists that have the little yellow triangle on them to indicate something is amiss. And it'll be under a category like other devices or something like that. Sometimes it'll say like PCI devices. Anyway, for what it's worth, yep. All that stuff you just learn by doing. Julie asks, is there a major difference between 26 HD and 28 HD for a church setting? No, No. Other than, and this is not major, but my belief is that every time vMix releases a new version, whether it's a major version like 26 or 27, or it's a dot version like 28.0.0.42 as opposed to .38, I think they're doing little tweaks under the hood to make things work just a little bit better every time. So I would say it's probably worth $60 to go up to 28 HD. And the $60 will get you updates for a year. So if vMix rolls out 29 within the next 12 months, you'll get that one too. So that's a deal. I think that's a deal. Michael had a huge problem with changes on the firewall. Suddenly his NDI feed could not be seen by vMix until I disabled all firewall settings. Haven't figured it out yet. Ooh, that's mean. I haven't had an NDI problem that I know of. You just never know. It's one of those things where you know what you know, and you know some of what you don't know. I mean, there are things that I know I don't know. And I can live with that. But then there's this other area of things that I don't even know I don't know. Oh my gosh. But that area is, I was going to say it's getting smaller, but I think it's getting progressively larger because there's more stuff to know. But the things that I know is also getting larger. Even at my advanced years, I'm still learning a thing or two every day. Yep. So, yeah. What can I say? What can I say? Well, it's been a treat to hang out with you guys. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me. Do me a favor. You know the deal, right? You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just between you and me. It's just a thing. I don't care if you ring the bell or subscribe. Just give me a like. Thank you very much. So that's it. So next week, we will see you with another thoroughly exciting show. Thank you, Ed. Ed says he's already hit the like button on that one. So I appreciate that a great deal. Ed, you're a champ. What can I say? Thank you, Michael. So we'll come up with something cool for next week too. I am tempted, haven't done it yet, but I am tempted to build another obtainium system as a prototype. Something more along the, well, I did that, didn't I? Never mind. I've already done that. Been there. Didn't use a different chip, but used a different motherboard. So anyway, we'll talk some more about that as time goes on. Y'all are great. And I will catch you on the flip side. Cheers. By the way, the reason that 29 in the little clip I just showed you was transparent, it's because it's not here yet. It's a figment of your imagination. It's vaporware. Vaporware.